This family of instruments is called the percussion instruments. We have two basic groups of percussion instruments, the ones that are indefinite pitch, like snare drum and bass drum and cymbals that make a big sound, and the definite pitch instruments like the timpani, the xylophone, and the bells that can play a melody. So here are the percussion instruments of the orchestra.
Hi everyone, my name is Mai Hessel. I play percussion with Sherman Symphony Orchestra. I am actually from Japan, and I started to play percussion when I was 12 years old. When I became a junior high school student in my 7th grade, I decided to join the school band, and I actually auditioned for flute first. But I was very nervous, and the audition didn't go very well. But I aced my rhythm test instead, and my band director put me into percussion section. I didn't like percussion first because I wanted to play something shiny, and percussion wasn't very attractive looking for me at the time. But I decided to give it a try, and I actually fell in love with it. I love percussion because of the diversity of the instruments. While other people are stuck with playing just one instrument, we get to play so many different kinds of instruments, and I was never bored practicing. And I also like percussion because most of the time I'm the only one playing the instrument, and everybody in the orchestra can hear me and see me very well, and I love that. Now I'm going to introduce you to some of the percussion instruments. Percussion can be divided into two different categories, definite pitch and indefinite pitch. And in front of me right here are the definite pitched instruments. With these instruments, we can play specific pitches or melodies. These drums right here are called timpani, and this is actually my favorite instrument, because I get to play really cool solos with the band like this. So these drums are very unique because there are pedals attached to the instrument. If I can show you, there's a pedal, and we change the pitches by pushing the pedals up and down like this. And notice how low these drums can sound. And timpani is used with the bass section in the orchestra, and we share the same rhythms and pitches with tuba, bass trombone, and string bass. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the next instrument. This one right here is called xylophone. This is like a wooden piano, but instead of using fingers, we use these plastic mallets to play. Notice how high this instrument can sound. And because it can cut through the orchestra very well, this is used to highlight the melody line of the orchestra. And we can play with flute, oboe, or violin. Now I'm going to play a tune you might recognize. Okay. The last one right here is called orchestra bells or Glockenspiel. Similar to xylophone, but instead of wood, this one is made of metal. And this is also a high-pitched instrument, and we can play with the melody line and also we can add some sparkly or crisp sound to the orchestra. And sometimes we can also use these brass mallets to play. This can even brighten up the sound a little bit. Now I'm going to play a tune. That's it. Thank you for listening. Now we're going to introduce you to some of the indefinite pitched instruments.
Hi everyone, so nice to meet you guys. My name's Kara and I'm happy to be showing you some of the instruments in the percussion family today that are with indefinite pitch. So I think like many of you, I started playing an instrument when I was in 5th grade. I auditioned for my school band and I'd always wanted to play percussion just because I thought rhythms were so cool and I was always tapping on things. I can remember being little, driving in the car and listening to the radio and just tapping along, and it drove my sister crazy. So it was great to get into band and to have an outlet for my rhythms. So yeah, like Mai said earlier, one of the reasons I like playing percussion is we get to play all of these instruments. It's not just one, and we get the chance to make so many different sounds and learn so many different techniques. So you never have the chance to get bored because you're always getting to do something fun, new and exciting. So that's my favorite thing about playing percussion, besides the fact that lots of times you get to play really loud, which is a lot of fun. So some of the instruments I just want to talk about today. This one here is called the bass drum. It's one of our biggest and lowest sounding instruments in the band or the orchestra. So we can get lots of different sounds out of it. You can play really, really loudly. Okay, you can go nice and steady, almost like a heartbeat. So sometimes the role of the bass drum is to keep the steady beat for the band or the orchestra. Or you can even do a roll to sound like thunder. So there's the bass drum. This instrument right here is called the snare drum because on the bottom it has these little wires that are called snares. So it makes the drum sound kind of rattly. And this instrument was used a long time ago in the military to sort of send messages back and forth between the soldiers. So in the 1700s, they didn't have their cell phones to go call their buddy and say, hey man, there's British soldiers in the bushes, you better watch out. So they would use their instruments, percussion and little small piccolos made out of wood called fifes, to send messages back and forth to each other that could say, time to go fight, or time to come back to bed, or whatever. And so they would use this instrument to sort of send those messages. Okay, and I can also turn the snares off, so instead of getting that rattly sound, it sounds like this. So that is the snare drum. Moving on now to cymbals, we have different types. This one is called the suspended cymbal because it's on a stand suspended in the air. And usually we'll use soft sticks called mallets to play this one. If you want a louder sound, you can use a stick and hit it on the edge. So that's the suspended cymbal. We also have these cymbals. They're called crash cymbals. You might hear them called hand cymbals too because you crash them together. And this is actually my favorite percussion instrument to play because they're really loud. There's nothing quite like playing a good cymbal crash with the orchestra. We also have all these little small instruments we call accessories. They're all sort of in the same family. So we have this one, I'm sure you've all seen before, called the triangle. All kinds of different shakers. These are castanets. sleigh bells just in time for the holidays. This one's called the tambourine. This one is called a whip. Sounds like a whip you might use for a horse. Got to be careful of that when you don't catch your fingers in it. Different kinds of bells. These are called the go-go bells. Related to cowbells. And then this one is a slide whistle. So even though we blow in it like you would some of the wind instruments, we still use this in the percussion family. I wanted to show you guys some other instruments that are also in the percussion family that are maybe less common in band and orchestra, but I still play them a lot. So this one I'm sitting on is called a cajon. It's used in a lot of folk music in South America, so Peru and Colombia especially, and it's really nice because you get to sit down while you play. But you can get all kinds of different sounds. And then one more instrument. This drum is called the bowron, and it's actually a traditional Irish instrument. So I was very lucky after I finished music school here in Texas. I went to study in Ireland for almost 2 years. And that's another great thing about music that I wanted to say is I've gotten to travel so many places and meet so many amazing friends through doing musical things. I've been, I think it's 13 countries I was counting on the way up here, all from doing music stuff. And yeah, it's been a really great way to meet new friends and travel new places. So I hope if you're interested in music, you'll consider doing an instrument because it really has opened so many doors for me and really changed my life in a lot of ways besides being super fun and getting to go on band trips. So this instrument is from Ireland. I only use one stick to play it. Thank you so much for watching our video today. I hope you enjoyed it and hope that you can get to pick an instrument soon that you'll really love. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. We're going to play for you The Stars and Stripes Forever by John Philip Sousa. Hope you enjoy it.
Hi, we'd like to tell you about one more percussion instrument that you might not think of as a percussion instrument, and you might not think of it as an instrument for the orchestra, but it is both. This is the piano, as you already know, and the reason why we call it a percussion instrument, even though it's filled with strings on the inside, is because the strings are hit by hammers. Those hammers then make the strings vibrate and make the sound. They're not hammers like you have at home with metal ends on them. These hammers are made out of wood and they're covered with felt so that they make a nice sound. And that's the sound that you hear in the orchestra when the piano is playing, this kind of string vibrations with the hammer being hit. The piano is used as a solo instrument with the orchestra mainly, but it also is used as a percussion instrument playing lots of different kinds of pieces that use this kind of sound in the orchestra. I'm going to play one of the little pieces that you probably will recognize. It's been so great having you with us this whole time with these different videos on the instruments of the orchestra. Sharing our love for music is what we really like to do. If we can't do it in person on the stage and with you in the audience, then this is the way we're going to share the instruments of the orchestra with you. Thank you for coming along on this adventure with us.